Shalom, Chaverim. I hope that you're well. Almost Shabbat Shalom here in the Holy Land, and I wanted to share an idea, a short idea from this week's Parsha for us here in Israel, Shlach. It'll be the Parshat Shlach next week, but I wanted to put it out there because it's sitting with me in a strong way. We spoke last week about that you have to believe that you can fix something if you broke it. And in this week's Parsha, we have something that's a little bit hard to understand, but I think it's a powerful teaching, and I hope that we can learn something from it. That in this week's Parsha, the beginning of the story of the spies, the Meraglim, that they get sent to the land of Israel. Moses sends 12 spies in. They tour around the Israel, and they come back out and report, and they give a bad report. That we can't do it, we can't survive, we can't conquer, we can't come into the land of Israel. It's too much for us. And God isn't pleased with this, obviously. There are two, Yeshua and Caleb, they say, no, we can do it. But 10 of the great leaders of the Jewish people say that we can't do it. And the punishment eventually is that we have to spend 40 years in the desert, and that whole generation that left Egypt is gonna die in the desert, and a new generation will come into the land of Israel. But what's interesting in chapter 14 of the book of Numbers, there's a few verses. It's called the maapilim in Hebrew. I don't know what they call them in English. But right afterwards, everyone is mourning terribly about the news that they're not going to come into the land of Israel. And then there's a group that say, well, we can do this. And they get up and in the next morning and they acknowledge that they did a chet, a sin, and they say, we're going to go up to the mountain. And Moses says, what are you doing? You can't do it. You can't survive. You're not going to. God isn't with you. And they said, we're going to do it anyway. And we're going to go in. And then it's an unfortunate continuation of the story that Moses was right. They don't have God's blessing to do it, and that group of maapilim, they all die in the battles as they come into the land of Israel. So what's going on with this story of the maapilim? And it's something that speaks very deeply to me every year, and I think in this year in particular, that there's a strength to it. They acknowledge that they did something wrong, and right away they want to fix it. They say, oh, okay, we were supposed to come into Israel and we said the wrong thing and that wasn't good, so let's go and fix it right away. And many of our tradition, many of our leaders, the Or Chaim says that it was just too soon. The Ktav Kabbalah says that it wasn't enough of what they did, that even they said that they sinned, that they wanted to do it anyway, that their end is difficult. And there's something strong here about the need that sometimes I feel this terrible need after I do something wrong, I want to fix it right away. And here God is saying, no, wait, think about it, meditate on it, understand the complexity of what you may have done. But the fixing will come eventually. It might take 40 years, it might not, but the fixing will come. But right away, this desire to right away fix it shows that you don't understand the depth of what we did wrong. And sometimes there's so much brokenness in the world, and all we want to do is fix it and fix it and fix it. And it's really hard to sit and meditate with that brokenness and understand what's my role in it. So rather than running to fix it right away, how can we take a message from the maapilim to sit, to examine, to do an introspective process to understand what we can do, and then come out of that time in a much stronger way, according to the Torah, with the blessing of God, and then finish our duty the way we're supposed to do in the first place. So my blessing is for you and me and the whole world, that we can have the patience to do the fixing that we're meant to do in the right time, and that we can take the opportunity to have the introspection and the meditation and the understanding of the gravity of what we're involved in. So please God, we'll celebrate together soon, and Shabbat Shalom.